Hi YouTube, Crimson here, speedrunner, speedrun commentator, here to give you Regex information. First thing I want to say is that there's actually an excellent video on Regexes that got published by my friend and frequent collaborator Lolcohol, and that'll be linked in the description down below as a very useful supplement to what I'm going to be talking about in this video, which is my personal Regex system. Additionally, there's a website where you can DIY Regexes. I don't recommend it, and I'll explain why during this video here, but I'm going to be making a Regex system that you can use to write a regex for your build, no matter what it is, as well as teaching you how to add on to this system as well. I have act-by-act regex building blocks, and we're going to be going through all of this information here as well so you can understand how to use this. Link to this act-by-act regex blocks is going to be in the description down below, and then we're also going to be working through some examples for a number of different League Start builds that my chat submitted, so that way we can talk about how to use those things in general. So first things first, what is a regex? A regex is a text search bar expression that you can use, and what we are talking about today is vendor search leveling regexes. Regexes can also be used in a number of other ways. For example, if you are crafting a bunch of items in a tab and you want to see which ones hit, you can use that to highlight items that have specific modifiers. What we're going to be doing today is talking about a little bit about modifiers and modifier breakpoints and how that affect regexes, and the way that I think about regexes, both for fast league starting and for racing and speedrunning. And then I'm going to be showing you guys how you can use the building blocks that I'm giving you in order to make a regex that you would like. So just as one example, if you don't know how item modifiers work, we'll talk about, for example, % increased spell damage on staves. And I will turn off my face so you can see this, as well as my overlay so you can see this. So on the left side of your screen here, you can see that the weapon caster damage prefix breakpoints are this. There are modifiers that exist only from level 1 and higher, level 8 and higher, 16 and higher, 33 and higher, 46 and higher, and so forth. And those are increasing amounts of spell damage. This is true of any modifier in the game. Could be life, could be resistances, could be movement speed, could be leech, could be accuracy, could be flat damage, anything you like. There are breakpoints available for it. And there are a number of different regex values that you can search in order to highlight specific modifier tiers. Some people make regexes in a way that's different to how I do it, which is to have regexes that highlight based on numerical values of particular affixes, but because those are misaligned with like round numbers, but because the breakpoints are misaligned with round numbers, for example, there's a breakpoint between 88 and 89%, there's a breakpoint between 108% and 109%, it's often easier to search by the name of the affixes. If you're unfamiliar, when you pick up a magic item, you might have a burnished tense crossbow of the archer, which would have flat physical damage as well as plus level to all projectile skills. And those adjectives, burnished and of the archer, are the names of the prefix and suffix tiers. A thing that's important to note before pedants come after me in the comments is that advanced search regexes are being enabled in 0.5, which means that you can search by the modifier tier even for rare items, as well as that our regex character limit is going from 50 characters to 250 characters, so you can have a super verbose and super detailed regex there as well. So let's talk about how my system works, so that way you guys can understand what the hell we're talking about. The idea is that here there are building blocks, so that way you can just paste together the things that are relevant to your particular build. So we have attack modifiers, we have projectile skills and melee skills, we have spell modifier things for each different elemental spell, we have movement speed and life and resistances and flat defenses for every single different type. This does not include every single different element that can possibly exist, and that's okay. It means that I want you guys, if you, for example, really need leech on your build, I want you to be able to go and grab mana leech or life leech by looking at the modifier name on PW2DB. So if you want a more specific modifier than what I've said is generally applicable, then you can grab that from going to PW2DB. So I'll show you how this building block system works by first building a regex for my preferred league starter. My preferred league starter is going to be a Witch Hunter Grenadier, and then if Gemling Legionnaire, once we know more about it, is really cool, we'll transition to Gemling Legionnaire. My advice to people who are going to be following my build guide is going to be to wear armor in Acts 1, 2, and 3, and then hybrid armor evasion in the interludes and into early maps. where we will eventually in ultra late game transition to evasion and deflection stacking. So for acts 1, 2, and 3, armor. For act 4 plus, armor evasion. And then once we're in maps, we're going to transition out of using vendor regexes in favor of crafting things. So let's just start with the defensive modifiers that are helpful for us, and we're going to make our grenade merc regex right here. So I'll just go ahead and tap down here, and we want our act 1 grenade merc regex. So what are the things that we care about? We care about attack modifiers, and I'm personally okay with not having any of those vendor regexes available until level 8. If you wanted any flat damage, you could just add OAT. But here are the Act 1 flat damage attack mods. This is Burnished, which will give you access to flat physical damage, Smoldering, which is flat fire, Chilled, which is access to flat cold, and Buzzing, which is access to item level 8 flat lightning. So we're going to take these and we will go ahead and put that right here. Those are our attack mods. Then at level 1, we have Of the Archer available. So we will go ahead and grab that and we will continue moving on. We don't care about spell mods. We don't care about spell levels. We do care about movement speed. In Act 1, we'll just take Vem from the middle of the word movement speed and paste it right here. And then in Act 1, we don't need resistances. We just keep moving. The resistance values that we can get are so low that they don't contribute meaningfully to our survivability in Act 1, because 6% cold resistance isn't enough for me to care about. Then, like I said, we care about armor, because we want to wear armor in Act 1. And so we add lacquered and studded. We don't care about all the rest of this. The other thing is you'll notice that it's just flat defenses, and that's because percent defenses are easy to craft on, and also the flat defenses add a much more significant amount to your survivability. Crafting on percent defenses, especially in the later acts when you have currency exchange available, is just a matter of buying a lesser essence of enhancement, and you only really want the percent ones when they are synergizing with the flat ones. So here are the modifiers that we want for our Act 1. We're also going to go ahead and grab some life mods, if I can remember where I put them, Hail and Healthy. Okay, so this is our Act 1 regex set of modifiers. We have our flat damage, we have our preferred levels, we have movement speed, we have flat armor, and we have flat health. And then now all that we do is just glue these together by adding what are called vertical pipes, which are OR operators. And so this will then be able to be taken in game, where we can have Burnished, Smoldering, Chilled, Buzzing, Of the Archer, any movement speed, flat armor of either the lacquered or studded tier, and then Hail or Healthy. And this would highlight all items that have those modifiers. If we wanted to exclude other things, we could definitely do that. For example, this would automatically highlight, for example, maces that have compatible flat damage modifiers, or it would highlight quivers that have added damage to attacks. It may highlight armor-based types that are not compatible with what we would like. For example, it would highlight gloves, like ES gloves that have flat added damage. But we're going to leave this as it is for right now. If you want to learn how to exclude things from the filters so it doesn't highlight weapon-based types that you don't like, then you can follow Lawalcohol's video, but I trust that you can visually tell that a mace is not a crossbow, and don't accidentally buy a mace. Same thing would work for our Act 2 Grenade Mercenary. We would just go through and we would say, okay, we're still doing our Grenade Merc. So we'll go ahead and copy that. And again, now we're just going to take the Act 2 version of all these things. We've decided we want to wear armor, so we're going to add Ribbed and Fortified here. We also want to add Act 2 resistances of the Drake, of the Storm, and of the Narwhal, our resistance modifiers there. Sanguine and Stalwart are flat life. And then we want to add 15% movement speed. Actually, in Act 2, I would still be okay wearing 10% movement speed, so I'll just take this modifier that catches all percent movement speed, Vem, and leave it there. Then we can skip past the spell levels portion, we can skip past this, and we can actually look at both Archer and Fletcher. And since Chur highlights both of them, and I'd be happy to get either +2 or +3, I'll just go ahead and add Chur. If you're unsure how that works, you're welcome to just add Of the Archer and Of the Fletcher together, and the way I've written it in this guide will be caught for sure. And then you can also take Wicked, Polished, Smoking, and then Infusing and Snapping. Wicked is percent increased physical damage, Polished is flat physical damage, Smoking is fire damage, Infusing is increased elemental damage, and PPI is Snapping, which is cold damage, which is lightning damage. So we'll take this, and then again, we will just go ahead and glue all of these together with a pipe, and this will be a very long regex, but it's well under the character count limit that we have available. And we can just take this, and just to show you that it is under that character count, if I highlight all of this, it is 76 characters, so we could even triple the length of this regex if we really wanted. And we can add a bunch of exclusion parameters if you'd like. Again, alcohol video will show you how to do that. So that's just the process to show you a couple of different things. I'll do a couple more of these just so you can see how it would work if you were, for example, interested in spells. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll take EDC Witch. Okay, so our EDC Witch would do the same thing that we did for the other ones, but we're just going to go ahead and make an Act 3 Essence Drain Contagion Witch regex here, and then I trust you guys can create your acts 1, 2, and 4. So the first thing is, do we care about attack modifiers on our EDC Witch? No. Do we care about attack skill levels? No. Do we care about our spell modifiers? Yes. We do care about percent damage. We do care about gain as extra. For our Plant Witch, we're going to say that we don't care about cast speed, and that because we only care about spell levels as a suffix. So we will just take the first of these, and we'll note that we can exclude the last one if we don't need cast speed. And so this will catch all of the top tier possible percent spell damage, as well as all of the top tier possible percent gain. And we will go ahead and add that to the beginning here. Then we will look at possible tiers for level of all spells. Of the mage is +2, and of the enchanter is +3. We would be happy with either one of those. So we'll just go ahead and copy those there as well as since we are playing Essence Drain Contagion, Chaos spell levels are also particularly valuable for us. So we scroll down to the Chaos spells section, which I typed an example build here. This would be useful for Essence Drain. And we'll go ahead and add those. Note that this is +1, this is +2, and this is +3. And so we will go ahead and only take the ones that are +2 or +3 here as well. And so we will then add that and that to the build. If we wanted to add of Anarchy, because we wanted to catch foci, for example, that have +1 level of chaos spells, we can add that as well. So for the sake of example, we'll do it here. We'll then scroll down. We'll say that since this is Act 3, we only want things that are 15% or higher. So we will go ahead and take the Sprinters modifier as well as the Stallions modifier and add those here. For resistances in Act 3, we have a bunch of different possible mods there. Of the Kiln, of the Yeti, of Banishment, of the Thunderhead are higher tier resistances. Those are going to be 20% plus resist. For the sake of example, we will exclude the 16 to 20% resistances that we can get in Act 2 with of the Drake, of the Storm, and of the Narwhal. If you want to catch even more resistances, you can do that. You definitely don't care about 6 to 10% resistances or 11 to 15% resistances at this point in the campaign, so we're only going to highlight one 16 plus at the most, but we'll say that this is 20 plus. For flat defenses, we're going to be wearing Energy Shield, and we will go ahead and take the best tiers here, which is Radiating, and then we will scroll down, make sure that nothing else here is available. For the sake of including it, we will also catch some slightly lower tiers, and then now we have a very long regex that is going to catch top tier spell damage, top tier gain as extra, +2 spell levels, +3 spell levels, +1, 2, or 3 level of chaos spells, 15 or 20% movement speed, all of the 20% plus resistances, and then the top 3 possible rolls of Energy Shield. So a super long regex, but just for the sake of example, you can glue together these building blocks in any way that you like. And now you just go through and add pipes to glue all of this together. Again, this is going to be a very, very, very broad regex, but it's only catching the top tiers of the top mods. So everything in here will be available. And if you want it to be stricter, you can make it stricter by using advanced commands to exclude things. But now we have a super long regex, again, still well under 250 characters. This is a 161 character regex that catches all of the top tier staff prefixes, all of the possible plus spell level suffixes that are relevant to us, movement speed, huge amounts of resistance, and top flat rolls of Energy Shield. If we wanted to, for example, add life to that, we would just scroll to the life section and add Stout and Robust, and we could do that as well. So just to give you an idea, we can take this into game if you want and show you, but that's just an example of an Act 3 EDC Witch. We'll do a couple more just for the sake of showing it. Let's go ahead and do a plant druid for Act 4, and we're going to pretend that we're a really strict player who only wants the best of the best of the best. So this will be an Act 4 plant druid regex, using these building blocks just to continue showing the example. So plant druid is physical spells, don't care about attack mods, don't care about melee skills or projectile skills, do care about spell mods. We want only the best of the best of the best, because otherwise we will be happy to hold on to what we have already. So we're going to take occultists, zealots, malicious, vorpal, and sortilege. We do want the cast speed, let's say. Otherwise you would be able to filter out sortilege. Spell levels, at this point, we're only going to take anything that has +3. So we're going to put enchanter in here for our spell druid. And then we will scroll down to our physical spells, and we will only take the top one because we're pretending that we're creating a very strict regex. We're then going to scroll down past all of the other elemental spells, and we are only going to take 20 and 25% MS on boots. And glue that in here. We're going to take the top roll of flat life for our druid, and we're going to say that our druid really wants resistances and is a bit hungry for resistances, so we'll take anything, a single roll of 20% plus. Then we're going to wear the traditional druid armor, which is armor and energy shield combined, and we're going to take the top 2 flat rolls of that and glue that in. And now we have a really strict Act 4 thing, which catches only the top caster mods, including cast speed, or things that have +3 to either all spells or physical spells, as well as 20 or 25% movement speed, top roll of flat life, best rolls of resistance, as well as our top rolls of flat armor and evasion. And again, we just glue this together with pipes, and we just sit here, remove the exclamation points, remove the quotations, replace them with vertical pipes, and now we have a regex that's going to catch anything that has all of those mods. Again, these are going to be ridiculously long regexes, but it doesn't matter because of the 250 character limit. So you can see that our Act 4 plant druid regex is 164 characters. We could add 86 more characters to this, and that would be totally fine. We'll do one more just for the sake of doing it. We've done 2 casters. We've only done 1 melee. Let's go ahead and make an early Hollow Palm Martial Artist build. So Hollow Palm Martial Artist, we'll do, for example, an Act 2 regex. Our Hollow Palm Martial Artist, actually, let's do Act 1 for our Hollow Palm Martial Artist, so you can see how you can do things that are hybridized if you would really like. So our Act 1 Martial Artist definitely wants essentially any roll of flat damage on their gloves or on their weapons, since they won't have Hollow Palm yet. They don't care about projectile skills, but they do care about melee skills, so we will add combat to this, which would catch +1 on amulets or on gloves or on weapons. So that would be good for us. Don't care about spell mods or spell level mods. Scroll past that. We're going to go ahead and grab any amount of movement speed if we can, as well as any amount of life, because we're a monk and we're squishy in Act 1. So we want a lot of life here as well. We're going to scroll past resistances because in Act 1 I'm telling you to not wear resistances. I know that you have the option of going and getting that. If you want to add resi as a modifier, you totally can. But my generic advice is that 10% resistance isn't worth shopping for. Then for armor, we're going to be in a weird situation with our Hollow Palm Monk, which is to say that for armor, we're willing to wear armor or armor ES or ES EV. And that's because we want to have the stat requirements to be able to wear it. So we will actually wear flat armor because flat armor is better than EVES in Act 1. So we're going to wear that. We're also going to be willing to wear, of course, our intended armor, which is Evasion ES. So we will add this modifier OWISPs there as well. And then we will also add armor energy shield because we have a little bit of int early on as our Hollow Palm Monk. And so now you can see that we have flat damage, +1 melee spell levels, movement speed, top rolls of life, top rolls of armor, top rolls of EVES, and top rolls of armor ES. And then again, we just glue this together with our vertical pipes. And here we go. We have all of this available. And now we have our regex for Hollow Palm Act 1, for Plant Druid Act 4, for EDC Act 3, and for Grenade Merc Act 1 and 2. So hopefully with a few worked examples of, popular league starting builds, my league starting build, Dead Rabbit's EDC Witch, Rax's Plant Druid, Corbin's Hollow Palm Monk, you guys can see that you can create a regex. If you want things to be wider, for example, we chose that the Hollow Palm Monk would wear armor or Armor ES or EVES in Act 1, then you can see how that would work. You can create things that are much more strict. You can add modifiers. And then if I didn't include a generically desirable modifier, you're more than welcome to look it up on PoE2DB because you want, crit damage for spells to be included in your regex. And you can go and get the modifier name from the PoE2DB modifier calculator and just look it up, find the eye level breakpoint relevant to the act that you're in, and add that full name. You can create these ridiculously long, ridiculously specific regexes based on the tiers of modifiers that you would like. And I will include a link to this full text file as a paste bin in the YouTube description down below. And then, of course, if you guys have any more questions, let me know in the YouTube comments. If you are writing a guide and you need help writing regexes for a guide that you think will be widely used, let me know and I'll help you write a regex for your guide based on the armor bases and the offensive modifiers that people want for your build. I hope that gives you guys some confidence in writing your own regexes. If you follow my guide, I'm going to have incredibly detailed regexes available in my guide there as well. So I hope that answers your guys' questions, and I'll see you on League Start. Bye, YouTube. You guys can say bye, YouTube, in the comments if you want. No? Twitch chat doesn't want to say bye, YouTube? Twitch chat can say bye, YouTube. Bye, YouTube. Bye, YouTube. See, we can see they're all saying bye, YouTube. Bye, YouTube.